I'm Maren Sutton, 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, while I was unconscious on an operating table, my father sold my condo to pay for my sister's wedding. Not borrowed against it, not asked me for help, sold it. 9 hours of spine surgery, a breathing tube in my throat, a brace waiting for me when I woke up, and 73 missed calls on my phone from my family, all arriving after the papers were signed. The first voicemail was from my father. "Honey, don't be upset. We handled everything. Your condo sold for $425,000. Brooke's wedding is safe now." Safe. That was the word he used for my sister's flowers, venue, dress, and honeymoon. But my home was gone. What happened next changed everything. And it did not happen with screaming. It did not happen with threats. It happened with records, timestamps, and one sentence my father was not ready to hear. If you have ever been the person your family takes from because they believe you are too strong to break, stay with me. Now let me take you back. I bought that condo when I was 28, 2 years after coming home from my second deployment as an Army medic. It was a third-floor unit outside Boston. Not glamorous, not large, but it was mine. I had saved every dollar I could. Double shifts, packed lunches, no vacations, no expensive dinners, no new car, even when my old Honda kept stalling in winter. When the bank finally approved me, I cried on the empty living room floor, because for the first time in my life, there was a door nobody in my family could tell me to walk out of. That condo was not just property. It was proof. Proof that I had survived war, family pressure, back injuries, night shifts, and every quiet expectation placed on the oldest daughter. My younger sister, Brooke, was different. Brooke was the golden child. She was beautiful, soft-spoken when it benefited her, helpless when it got her attention, and somehow always surrounded by people willing to fix her life before she had to face consequences. I loved her. That made it worse. When she got engaged to a man from a wealthy Connecticut family, my parents changed overnight. Suddenly, everything had to look perfect. The Brookhaven Country Club, the Cartier earrings, the custom dress, the rehearsal dinner with imported wine. My mother said the Caldwells were a different class of people, and my father started wearing his Brooks Brothers jacket to meetings that used to require only a polo shirt. 4 months before my surgery, Dad asked if I would borrow against my condo to help with Brooke's wedding. I said no. He smiled, but his jaw tightened. 2 days before surgery, I remembered an old power of attorney I had signed years ago before deployment, naming my father in case something happened overseas. I had never canceled it, so I signed a revocation, made a copy, and handed it to him at his kitchen table. "Just cleaning up documents before surgery," I said. He nodded and placed it beside the fruit bowl. I thought I had protected myself. That is one of the cruelest feelings in the world, believing you have locked the door, only to wake up and find someone had a key you didn't know existed. After surgery, the nurse told me everything had gone well. 3 levels fused. Long recovery ahead. I could barely move my hand. My throat felt like sandpaper. Then I played the voicemail again. My father's voice was calm, almost cheerful. "We signed the papers for you." Those 6 words did something to me. Not panic, not rage, clarity. I am a surgical nurse. I know what panic does to people. It makes them waste time. So I did what I had been trained to do. I assessed. Someone had signed my name while I was unconscious. Someone had used authority I had already revoked. Someone had taken 6 years of my life and called it help. I asked the nurse for my anesthesia record. She looked confused. I wasn't. I needed the times. When I was discharged 4 days later, the hospital rolled me to the curb in a wheelchair, and I realized I had nowhere to go. My condo had bathroom rails, a recovery bed, and everything arranged for my brace. Now it belonged to somebody else. My friend Tamara picked me up. She drove me to a short-term rental that smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner. She made soup, lined up my medication, helped me sit without twisting. Then I opened a notebook. The first call was not to my mother. It was to a real estate attorney named Louis Brennan. I told him everything in the same flat voice I used for hospital handoffs: surgery, voicemail, condo sale, old power of attorney, revocation. He listened carefully. Then he asked, "Who bought the condo?" I did not know. He paused. "Find that out, and do not discuss details with your family. Let them talk. Write everything down." My parents came that afternoon with flowers and a casserole. My mother cried before she sat down. My father stood by the door with his hands in his pockets, wearing the face of a man who expected forgiveness before confession. "Honey," my mother said, "it's just a condo. Your sister only gets married once." Just a condo. That was the first time she said it. I looked at her and remembered the day she helped me carry boxes into that place. She knew what it meant. She just needed to pretend she didn't. My father said, "You're the strong one, Marin. We knew you would understand." I asked one question. Who notarized my signature? The room changed. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at the floor. "It was handled properly," he said. That was his first mistake. People who have nothing to hide do not hide inside the word properly. 2 days later, Brennan sent me the deed. The buyer was Roy Maddox, my father's business partner. The sale price was $300,000, all cash, even though my condo was worth about $425,000. That was when I understood. This was not really about Brooke's wedding. Not entirely. My condo had been used to settle something between men who thought daughters were easier to move than debt. Roy had bought my home under market, in cash, from my father, and my signature was on the deed. It was close, but not mine. My real signature had a hard downward stroke on the M. The one on the deed was rounder, slower, like someone had practiced. But the real gift was the notary log. The notary wrote that I appeared in person and signed at 1:47 p.m. At 1:47 p.m., according to my anesthesia record, I was face down on an operating table. Intubated, under general anesthesia. My oxygen, blood pressure, and heart rhythm recorded every 5 minutes. A machine was breathing for me, while a notary claimed I stood in front of her. Here's what you need to understand. Families like mine survive by controlling the story. They don't need truth. They need everyone tired enough to accept the easiest version. But records do not get tired. The hospital chart did not love my father. It did not fear my mother. It did not care about Brooke's wedding. It simply told the truth. At 1:47 p.m., I could not sign anything. Brennan said the case was strong, but we still needed the revocation. The original was in my condo, inside a file box, behind a door I no longer had keys to. For one night, I thought they had trapped me. Then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I remembered something. Before handing my father the paper copy, I had scanned the revocation and emailed it to myself. I found it in my sent folder, dated 2 days before the closing, signed, time-stamped, clear. I forwarded it to Brennan with one line. "Found it." He called at 7. "Marin," he said, "this changes everything." We filed a quiet title action. We recorded a lis pendens, freezing the property so Roy could not sell or refinance it. Brennan sent the documents to the title company and the financial crimes unit. Detective Reyes called me personally. I gave her the timeline, the old power of attorney, the revocation, the forged signature, the notary time, the anesthesia record. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Send me everything. If you're still watching, and you've ever been told not to make a scene after someone quietly destroyed your peace, I want you to hear this clearly. Calm is not weakness. Calm is aim." My father came to the rental alone a week before the wedding. He looked tired, older. For a moment, I saw the man who once taught me to change a tire in the rain. Then he told me the truth. A project had failed. He owed Roy $140,000. Brooke's in-laws had money, and he could not stand the thought of looking poor beside them. "I didn't know how else to fix it," he said. I believed him, and it changed nothing, because then he asked me to drop the lawsuit until after the wedding. "Let Brooke have her day," he said. "Then we'll figure it out." That was the moment I understood the whole family system. Even when he was crying, even when he was cornered, even when he knew what he had done, he was still asking me to pay. Not help. Pay. I said, "You didn't borrow from me, Dad. You erased me." His face hardened. "You're going to embarrass this family." I looked at him calmly. "No, I'm going to tell the truth." The rehearsal dinner was at Brookhaven Country Club. 40 people, candlelight, white tablecloths. My mother in borrowed pearls. My father smiling too widely. The Caldwells seated near the front like royalty. I wore a dark blue dress that hid my back brace and flat shoes I could stand in. In my leather bag were 3 folders. One had the revoked power of attorney. One had the deed and notary log. One had the anesthesia record showing exactly where I was at 1:47 p.m. My mother found me near the coat check. "Whatever is happening with lawyers," she whispered, "this is not the night. Don't embarrass us. It's just a condo." There it was again. Just a condo. I looked at her carefully. "It was never just a condo, Mom. It was the one thing in this family none of you built. That's why taking it felt easy." Her face went pale. Then the dinner bell rang. My father gave the opening toast. He stood with his glass raised and spoke about family sacrifice, about everyone pulling together, about how proud he was that we all gave something to make Brooke's day perfect. Then he looked at me, the strong one, the generous one, the quiet one. So I stood. The room turned toward me. I did not shake. I did not raise my voice. "Since we're speaking about sacrifice," I said, "I would like everyone to understand exactly what paid for this wedding." My father froze. I placed the first page on the table. 3 weeks ago, I had 9 hours of spine surgery. While I was under general anesthesia, my condo was sold for $300,000 in cash to my father's business partner. A murmur moved across the room. I placed the deed beside it. "This document has my signature. The notary log says I appeared in person at 1:47 p.m. Then I placed the anesthesia record on top. At 1:47 p.m., I was unconscious, intubated, and being operated on. So someone in this room may want to explain whose hand signed my name." Silence. Not awkward silence, heavy silence. The kind that makes people sit straighter because truth has entered the room and taken a chair. My father stood suddenly. "How dare you do this here?" His voice was loud. Mine stayed low. "You sold my home while I was unconscious." My mother began crying. "It was for your sister." I looked at Brooke. She was staring at the papers like she had never seen them before. I placed down the revocation. 2 days before surgery, I revoked the power of attorney in writing. "The deed is void. The police have the file. Detective Reyes will be speaking with Dad and Roy this week." My father's face changed. For the first time, he looked less angry than afraid. I let the silence hold. Then I said the 4 words I had come to say. "I choose myself now." No shouting. No performance. Just the boundary. Brooke stood slowly. Her face was wet. "I didn't know it was this," she said. "I should have asked." "I'm sorry, Marin. It was not enough to heal everything, but it was the first honest sentence anyone in my family had spoken in weeks." I picked up my cane, turned, and walked out slowly. Every step hurt. My back burned. The brace dug into my ribs. But I walked out on my own 2 feet. That mattered. The legal process took months, but the outcome was clear. Roy's attorney saw the records and stopped pretending the deed could survive. The court declared the sale void. Title returned to my name. The title company settled my legal fees quietly because a notary certifying an impossible signature is not a small problem. Detective Reyes continued her investigation. I did not chase updates. I did not celebrate anyone's downfall. I gave my statement, handed over my documents, and let the system do what my family never did: hold people accountable. The wedding did not happen as planned. The Caldwells pulled back. Brooke postponed it. She and I are careful now. Slower. More honest. She comes by sometimes and sits in the condo with me. She never calls it just a condo anymore. My parents and I speak rarely. My mother sends messages about forgiveness, but what she means is forgetting. I answer politely. I do not forget. A few months later, I stood in my living room again. The afternoon light came through the same window. The floor was empty, but it was mine. And for the first time since surgery, I breathed without feeling like someone had taken something from my chest. People think revenge is loud. It is not. Sometimes revenge is a folder placed on a table. Sometimes it is a timestamp. Sometimes it is walking away without asking to be understood. My family called it just a condo, but it was never just a condo. It was 6 years of discipline. It was every night shift, every missed vacation, every bill I paid alone. It was the first proof that my life belonged to me, and that is what I took back. If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments about the boundary you finally had to draw with someone who counted on your silence. Subscribe if you want more stories about quiet strength, family betrayal, and the moment people finally stop asking for permission to protect their peace. My name is Marin Sutton, and I am no longer the strong one they can steal from.